bloody battle outside of Iran's parliament building as protesters defy the country's supreme leader. Just this afternoon, supporters of reform candidate Mir Hossein Mousavi tried to gather at a square near the parliament building, but were reportedly met by thousands of security forces in riot gear. Twitter messages from this scene report police savagely beating people, quote, like animals, and also sounds of gunshots reported. A Twitter account posted on the Huffington Post said, quote, I see many people with broken arms, legs, heads, blood everywhere, pepper gas like war. People run into alleys and militia standing there waiting. From two sides, they attack people in middle of alleys. And while protesters clash with the militia, no signs of Mousavi, who we are hearing is now under house arrest and being watched 24 hours a day by secret police. Mousavi has not appeared publicly since last Thursday, and the street demonstrations fly in the face of a warning, or a new warning, from Iran's supreme leader, who today said the leadership would not give in to bullying over results of the presidential elections. And neither side showing signs this is over, no matter how much the Iranian government may certainly want it to be. And joining us live for the first time on MSNBC is Reza Pahlavi, a former crown prince of Iran. His father was the Shah of Iran, overthrown in 1979 in the revolution then. Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
My pleasure, Tam.
So people are comparing 1979 to what we are seeing right now. Do you agree?
Well, I think the big difference is in the fact that the revolution that is happening right now among our people, it's really coming to this stage, is now shared by the whole world and not just by Iranians. It's unprecedented in our country's history to see this degree of sympathy by people in the four corners of the world, and in that sense it is unique as far as I'm concerned.
We heard President Obama speak yesterday saying he was appalled, using a bit stronger language, but the same message he even started while in Cairo and even before he was actually elected. How important is it to hear strong voices from the United States, you believe?
Well, of course, I think many Iranians, including myself, appreciate the president's stance on the question of human rights violations in Iran. The question is, however, the approach that there exists with this policy of engagement. It would be untenable under such circumstances, and the only way that it could be foreseeable if you have a stable Ahmadinejad government, which means that people have to go home, simply shut up and put up with usurpers. And I don't think this can work. It's too much to ask for.
Reza, I know the circumstances are totally different than 30 years ago, but so many people are sort of wondering what it feels like when you're on the inside of a ruling government and you see hundreds of thousands of people in the streets. Your father was the Shah, you were the crown prince. What was going through your mind when you saw the demonstrations and essentially the effort to overthrow your government 30 years ago?
Well, let's focus on 2009. We can go back to history one day, and if there is time, of course, we can reminisce on that. But sticking to the subject at hand, what is the demand of the Iranian people at the end of the day? Today it has become a question of sovereignty, of respect for their rights, of the legitimacy and the sanctity of the ballot box. It is a fight for something that people wanted all along in 30 years of repression under a theocracy. Our right to freedom, our right to self-determination, which has been so viciously denied by them for all eyes around the world to see. However, I think it would be unrealistic for any one of us to expect that you can sustain a campaign of street demonstrations. I believe we see an evolution towards resistance and defiance, which will be translated to perhaps many more strikes, work stoppages, and resistance of that kind. And here is where the world needs to focus not just on the streets, but the intentions and the coordination of the resistance to finally put the pressure that is necessary against this regime.
And Reza, you bring up the strikes, and we're hearing calls from the opposition leadership there to have strikes. But people are wondering, as we watch this enter the second week here, what will happen next? Is that the last best effort that these protesters will be able to put together here? Because we're not seeing any movement from the Ayatollah.
Well, rest assured that Mr. Khamenei, who pretty much had the final say and closed that chapter of any remaining claim to legitimacy by the regime, is now confronting the people with the absolute use of repression just to survive as a system. However, Defections have already started. I have had numerous reports and personal contact with some representative of some of the security forces, including the Revolutionary Guards, who are just fed up and as disillusioned as the rest of the population, and in effort of coordinating with them, refuse to beat up on people. I had account of people after their shift going back home, changing into civilian clothes and joining with the crowds. Now, of course, the regime still had recourse with some elements of the Hamas that are importing to use as foreign agents to repress the people, and unfortunately the majority of the Basij forces. But it is just a matter of time, because of the resilience of my compatriots that are so bravely standing up for their rights, and the world community support and the media attention, that we hope that whatever the regime tries to pull out of his hat in tricks and any kind of attempt will simply not work. It has gone beyond the stage of reconciliation. Now it has become to regain our rights, and this is what this situation has graduated to.
Well, Reza Pahlavi, thank you very much, the former Crown Prince of Iran. Thank you, sir.